While thousands of devoted fans flooded the streets of Clearwater, Florida to say goodbye to the icon who defined a generation, the most jaw-dropping moment of Hulk Hogan's funeral wasn't about who attended, it was about who deliberately stayed away. The glaring absence of key WWE executives and current roster members turned what should have been a moment of unity into a spotlight on betrayal. The same faces that rushed to post glowing tributes and polished graphics online were nowhere to be found when it came time to stand up and be counted. Roman Reigns, WWE's current face and a man whose career stands atop the very foundation Hogan built, was missing. Triple H, the so-called steward of the company's legacy, also a no-show. The current generation of WWE superstars, many of whom publicly claimed to idolize Hogan, apparently had prior commitments, house shows, brand obligations, anything but honoring the man whose shoulders they now stand on. While fans wept in the streets and legends flew in from across the world, WWE sent a generic flower arrangement, one that cost less than a single catering bill for a televised Raw. The billion-dollar empire that milked every drop of profit from Hulkamania could not be bothered to send a single executive in person. In a move that enraged fans and insiders alike, WWE treated Hogan's death as a public relations inconvenience rather than a chance to display gratitude, humility, or loyalty. Meanwhile, wrestling greats from rival promotions, semi-retired veterans scraping by on modest incomes, and loyal fans who used their last few dollars to be there made the journey. The church had room for over 2,000 guests, but the silence from WWE leadership rang louder than any tribute. Even local media noticed. Where was Stephanie McMahon, who called Hogan family on Instagram? Where was Nick Khan, whose bottom line had been boosted by Hogan's legacy? Where were the superstars who once said Hogan inspired them to chase their dreams? The truth was as bitter as it was transparent, they were avoiding association. Hogan's complicated past made him a liability, and WWE, in its corporate cowardice, chose optics over obligation. Posting safe tributes from afar was easy, showing up in person required actual conviction. Fans weren't fooled. Hashtags like #WWE Cowards trended as side-by-side images of glowing online tributes contrasted with the empty seats that should have held those same voices. The most heartbreaking moment came when Brooke Hogan, eyes scanning the church, searched for faces she was promised would be there, faces that never showed. Family members confirmed she specifically asked about WWE figures who gave their word privately, only to ghost the service. WWE tried to mask its absence with hollow statements about respecting the family's privacy, but the family had made it abundantly clear, wrestlers were welcomed and encouraged. The excuse was not only weak, it was insulting. In stark contrast, legends from across generations made the effort. Stone Cold Steve Austin flew in quietly, choosing to grieve away from cameras, tears in his eyes the entire service. The Rock, amidst an intense filming schedule, chartered a jet and served as a pallbearer. Mick Foley, who has struggled financially, attended anyway, sacrificing his own stability for the man who meant so much to the industry. Ric Flair, fragile and wheelchair-bound, still showed up. Bret Hart, despite past tensions with Hogan, delivered a soul-stirring eulogy on brotherhood beyond conflict. Wrestlers from AEW, including Jon Moxley and CM Punk, risked political blowback by showing up because honoring wrestling's history mattered more than internal politics. International wrestling communities did what WWE would not. Japan, Mexico, and European federations sent representatives, despite having far fewer resources. Their presence underscored WWE's moral failure. These guests didn't just represent themselves, they represented a global fraternity that recognized Hogan's impact as transcending controversy. Outside the church, more than 3,000 fans created a living tribute, standing under the hot Florida sun wearing vintage shirts, clutching replica belts, and holding handwritten signs that told stories of meeting their hero. They came from every corner of the country, many of them sacrificing time and money to say one final thank you. These weren't casual fans. They were the lifeblood of WWE's legacy, the people who made Hulkamania into a global movement. Their stories, of Hogan's kindness, his willingness to talk, hug, sign autographs, and listen, were the kinds of interactions that WWE corporate never found valuable but meant everything to the people he touched. Even as thousands mourned, WWE's social media was business as usual, promotional posts, event reminders, marketing fluff. There was no live acknowledgement of the fan gathering, no solemn tribute coverage, no official presence on site. Independent podcasters gave more respectful coverage than the company that owed much of its global identity to Hogan. Then came The Rock's eulogy, a direct verbal haymaker. Without naming names, he condemned fair-weather friends who vanish when loyalty is tested. His voice cracked with emotion as he said Terry Bollea knew who his real friends were. They're the ones in this church, not the ones posting from thousands of miles away. The crowd erupted. Heads turned toward the empty seats reserved for WWE's top brass. He then spoke of forgiveness, acknowledging Hogan's mistakes and his journey toward redemption, contrasting that with a company that erased him when he became inconvenient and only acknowledged him again when profit margins allowed. Social media exploded. Clips of The Rock's speech went viral, and journalists quickly confirmed what many had suspected: WWE had internally discouraged staff from attending. A leaked memo allegedly advised talent to stay away, emphasizing brand protection. Some stars, including Roman Reigns, reportedly wanted to attend but were advised not to by their management. Triple H's absence was the most deliberate. His role in purging Hogan from WWE's public face made his presence too risky. The company calculated that the PR hit from skipping the funeral would be less damaging than the headlines from associating with a complicated legacy. They were wrong. Worse still, WWE reportedly tracked fan reactions online in real time, using social metrics to assess the backlash. That's how cold the calculus was. They measured outrage instead of feeling it. Meanwhile, wrestling promotions around the world displayed more integrity. New Japan Pro Wrestling sent a delegate with a formal speech. Impact Wrestling, despite its smaller footprint, sent multiple reps and wrestlers. Even local and independent promotions had a stronger presence than the billion-dollar empire Hogan helped build. International coverage ripped WWE apart. Japanese, British, Mexican, and European outlets ran stories criticizing the company's callous decision, proving that the consequences of WWE's absence weren't just national, they were global. While they stayed silent, they ramped up Hogan-themed merchandise. On the same weekend as the funeral, WWE launched a limited edition, Hulkamania Lives Forever, collection, complete with church imagery and fan gathering photos, the very event they refused to attend. Fans were disgusted. Social media posts promoting the gear were swarmed with comments calling out the hypocrisy. Industry insiders revealed WWE made record-breaking sales off that merchandise during the funeral weekend, cashing in on grief without offering any respect. Behind the scenes, the betrayal went deeper. Hogan's children had been told certain WWE figures would attend, and they prepared tributes for those individuals. Reserved seats went unfilled. Family members recalled that Hogan himself had wished for Roman Reigns and Triple H to be there in his final days. Their absence wasn't just symbolic, it was heartbreaking. And it wasn't lost on the current locker room. Younger wrestlers, inspired by Hogan's career, were reportedly outraged over being pressured not to attend. Several have considered speaking out publicly, threatening to expose the company's true nature. Internal divisions have deepened. Some black wrestlers, understandably conflicted over Hogan's past racist remarks, appreciated not being pressured to attend. Others believed that the ability to forgive and show up at such a defining moment demonstrated true leadership and maturity. The debate continues to divide the roster. Meanwhile, the most powerful message came from the fans, who documented everything: the legends who came, the faces who didn't, the moments of real emotion, and the empty seats that screamed betrayal. The fallout has been seismic. Merchandise sales in Hogan's strong markets have plummeted. Attendance from nostalgic fans has declined. Retired legends are now rethinking any further involvement with WWE programming, uncertain of how they'll be treated when their time comes. Hogan's funeral revealed more than grief. It exposed WWE's value system: profit over people, branding over brotherhood. It tore away the illusion that the company treats its legends with love and dignity. It proved that for all the scripted loyalty WWE promotes, its actions reveal a colder, more calculated truth. Future tributes will be scrutinized through this lens. No amount of camera-ready statements will erase the memory of those empty seats. And fans will never forget who stood up and who stayed silent. On July 24, 2025, the wrestling world lost more than Hulk Hogan. It lost its innocence about WWE's corporate machine. But it gained something even more powerful: truth. A permanent record of who has integrity in this business and who's just playing a role. And for that, the funeral became more than a goodbye. It became a reckoning.